Welcome back to the Fighters Corner podcast, another podcast epi. We are in the middle of Valor BareKnuckle Fight Week, so we got plenty of action and great coverage leading up to the event on Saturday. Today, we were able to sit down and chat with Ishe Smith, who is a former IBF Junior Middleweight Champion and a former participant of the Contender back in 2005. Ishe has his BareKnuckle debut for Valor's event on Saturday, and it's against a tough opponent. Before Mike and I sat down with him and hit the record button, we said to ourselves, this could easily be the fight of the night. Ishe is no punk, and his opponent, former UFC vet Esteban Payan, is also tough as nails. Both of these guys are going to try to end it in the first round, and I'm extremely interested in this fight. We talked with Ishe Smith about all this, plus a lot more. Enjoy the show. So who are you taking in this weekend's fights? I know who I got, and it's not who you think. So I'm going to take my picks over to the world's safest and most trusted online gambling site and make a few bets. That's right, it's BetDSI.com. With more than 20 years' experience in the online gaming industry, BetDSI has the best sign-up and deposit promotions on the web. They also boast more deposit options than any other betting site, including fast, free, and secure payouts. Also, for our listeners, they are offering a special promotion where you can build a bigger bankroll and get 100% sports cash bonus when using our promo code Fighters Corner, all one word. That's 50% more sports cash by using our promo code Fighters Corner. Check out BetDSI for all your online gaming needs.
This episode is sponsored by B2 Digital. B2 Digital is doing some really cool things in the mixed martial art world. They're kind of creating a farm league for the bigger shows, and they are listed on a publicly traded company, listed on a stock exchange, BTDG on the stock exchange. They support our show. Guys, please, if you guys like this show, please give them a look, and if you can throw some support their way, man, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Also, please don't forget to subscribe, hit like, share, all because you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Radio Player, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, and the guy sitting next to you on the train is probably listening to us too. And if you're a fan of boxing, jiu-jitsu, kumite, and even capoeira, go check out my guys at UCL MMA. These guys are the heavyweight champions of mixed martial arts shows. And if you think you're the next Johnny Lawrence, go to their website at uclmma.com, shoot them an email and tell them John sent you before asking their matchmaker that you want to defend your All-Valley Karate Championship versus one of their fighters. That's uclmma.com. Welcome back to the Fighters Corner podcast. This is John Grosky, and with me is Mike Davis. And today we have a special guest,
Ishe Smith.
Mr. Ishe Smith.
So, Ishe, you've been around quite a few blocks. You had a 19-year pro career. Your amateur career for gloved boxing was fantastic. And obviously a former world champion. What has brought you back into the world of competition?
I think just the hunger to compete. I obviously wanted to make sure that I still had all my faculties and everything was good in order. So I took all my MRIs and all the tests that I needed to do to make sure I was still healthy. I think that was the biggest concern more than anything. So we got that worked out, and just watching Manny Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman the way he did.
That was amazing.
We're the same age. And, that kind of just brought that hunger back that I needed to get back in there and see how much I had left. And, these people called at the right time, and it was something refreshing, something new, something different than boxing. I was even considering UFC to try something different, and these people just asked me what my availability was, and I was able to work out a good deal with them, and it's been great.
Good. So where are you training at for this fight?
I was at City Athletic Boxing.
Okay.
Is that in Vegas?
In Vegas, yeah.
Have you made any adjustments in terms of training for this as you would have with a gloved fight?
Well, you kind of gotta. I'm used to going 10 rounds, 12 rounds. I don't get in the ring unless it's 10 rounds or more. So we kind of just tapered it down a little bit. I think the most I went in this camp sparring was 6 rounds. The last the least I went was 4 rounds. So we just wanted to make sure that I was ready. This is a 3-round fight, and we just wanted to get accustomed to going shorter rounds. And obviously with the whole no glove thing, that's just something you gotta kind of pick up on the fly. You can't really practice that in the gym. So I'm ready for it. I've talked to a lot of people who've done it. One of the fighters on the card, and Stitch, as Jacob Stitch Duran, has been
Great guy,
which is my cut man, a great friend of mine. I've been doing business with him since the early 2000s, and he's given me a lot of pointers too. He's just with the other companies, so he can't be here.
He's one of those guys. He's one of those guys. When he talks, you listen. And especially comes as he's very well versed in the bare knuckle boxing scene too. So that's good, man. That's good that you got him in your corner. That's good.
So you got Esteban Payan coming up on Saturday. Have you watched a lot of film on him?
Well, I saw his bare knuckle debut in the other company. Was different from Valor and was different from the other company. As the other company allows you to hold and hit, this company doesn't. It's just straight bare knuckle. It's not like that holding and hitting thing was a little bit. It was something I was adjusting to. Like, okay, what am I going to do to get close? Boxers aren't. Some boxers like to hold hit, but I've never been a hold and hitter unless I'm getting held and hit. Then I will want to retaliate back. But it was something I was trying to adjust to in camp, figuring out game plans, and even talking to Stitch. He was giving me game plans about holding hit. And then to my surprise, about 2 weeks ago, I found out, there was no holding and hitting.
Yeah,
so
no clinch
that's
game.
A plus for me.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just boxing with no gloves. And if you just take out the gloves, when you go bare knuckle, anything can happen. But if you just you put on the gloves, take them off, this guy is nowhere near the level of fighter that I am. So it's just going to be, like I said, this is just a new territory. So I'm definitely ready to take on the challenge. And I've always just been about challenges and risk. And that's why throughout my career, I always fought the best, whether I was at home, on the road, underdog, A side, B side. I always wanted to fight the best. And this is no different.
That's cool. All right. So you were on the Contender series back in the day.
Back in the day, bro. That was a phenomenal TV show. And
you were in the house with Sergio Mora, who you ended up fighting, I think, in the quarterfinals. What was that house like? And was it, I think you were underweight. Weren't you one of the guys that moved up in weight to go to that house?
Yes. I was competing at a welterweight. And I want to say the weight was like 158 pounds. I think that was our weight. So kind of met some of the heavier guys in the middle. And they made us come up. They kind of met everybody in the middle. It was a great experience. You don't really appreciate it. I didn't appreciate it back then. I was young. I was projected to win it. Sergio beat me on a split decision. It was a very close fight. Fight going from 12 rounds to 5 rounds. But looking back over it over the years, it propelled my career in ways that I obviously didn't realize then. And, that first season, I don't care how many seasons they do, that first season was always the best. It will always be the best season.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great season for us. And it brought us all household names. It just was early before its time. We came out now on NBC, we would all be multimillionaires just from the followings we would have on social media. It's just we didn't have no social medias back then, but it was a great show.
And was maintaining your weight while living in the house, was that difficult for you to do?
Yeah, it was, because I was putting on weight. You had to monitor your own weight, do your own training. We have kind of boxing coaches in there, but they wasn't there all the time. So it was tough keeping that weight on. Then I found myself getting too big. I was too heavy.
And then your cardio would suffer.
And so it was tough to get back down to 50. I think it was 58 or 56. It was tough to get back down when you're too heavy. And then you're doing all the interviews and, still having to train. So, yeah, it was tough. For some guys, I think it was easier, like the lighter guys that got on the show. But for me, it was tough because I was like 147 pounds. Then I bulked up. Then I had to, maintain my weight. So it was really tough. That's why after that show, I could no longer fight at 147 pounds. I just put on too much muscle and too much weight.
Yeah. Now, your amateur career, like if you have like a top 5 things like milestones in your life, which of your amateur career bleeds into that top 5?
I think I think I was the youngest participant in the 1996 Olympic trials, and I lost to Zab Judah by 4 points to advance to the final. So I think I was only 17 at the time. So I think if I had to sum that up, I was put that right up there more than anything. I mean, I won other little tournaments. I took the silver medal in the USA's questionable decision against Hector Camacho Jr. Competed in the Golden Gloves. I won 10 Nevada State Golden Glove titles. But that making the Olympic trials and going all the way to the semifinals, I think was definitely tops.
Now, were you in the WADA testing?
No, I was in. You mean Nevada testing?
Yeah. Were you when you went to the Olympics? Like when you were doing the trials?
Oh, yeah. Olympics. I mean, they always have tough testing. I remember fighting when I fought the semifinal in the 1996. Was that 96 or 95? Well, USA Nationals was the year Hector Camacho won. I fought in the finals before. Right when I won the semifinal, they took me upstairs, and I couldn't leave until I gave them a sample. So I remember that. Olympic testing is always the toughest test.
Yeah. It shakes out the BS. Like if you got something in your system you're not supposed to have, it's going to find it.
Right.
To even step in the same ring with somebody of the lineage of Hector Camacho is obviously, it's a huge thing, to do.
Yeah.
So, what are your plans for this weekend? How do you see this fight playing out on Saturday?
Well, I don't get paid for overtime. This is an overtime. This is not an overtime job. I'm not going to get time and a half, double time. So I plan on getting them out of there early and going back to my room and relax. So I don't plan on being in there any more than I have to plan. Like I said, he's an MMA guy. I think he has some short boxing career. Been more of an opponent. So if this was gloves, I would get this guy out of there one round, 2 rounds max, and I have to treat this as the same. I can't worry about, there's no gloves and, there's this is bare knuckle. I have to treat it as the same. The only difference is like I said, there's just no gloves. But when it comes to skills and technique and level of competition, this guy is nowhere on my level. So I'm going to treat him as such.
Good. Ishe, have you seen the pit yet where you're going to be fighting in?
No, they're supposed to show me in a minute. They're going to show me the pit so I can see it, how it's designed and everything.
So they explained it to you on what the design looks like and the structure. Are you timid by it at all or not? I mean, because this is something... Like
it's brand new.
It's brand new. Yeah, you don't even have an amateur career in this thing. You know what I mean? So it's not like you could, say, yeah, I've done this a couple times. Like this is something brand new and an element that you've never been part of before. Not only is it not a cage nor a ring, but it's a pit where you haven't even seen before. Does that intimidate you at all, or no? Or you think you're comfortable enough to walk in there and okay, good?
No, I mean once you have it in your blood, like fighting is in my blood, so no. I mean, we could be fighting in a sandbox. It's still all the same to me. It doesn't change. The only thing that changes is the rules.
Yeah.
If you put me in the pit and said, this is going to be UFC, and I got to worry about somebody giving me an arm bar, somebody choking me out, somebody stomping me, elbowing me, then that's way more. That's way more different than things I have to worry about. But when it's just a mano-a-mano, and you throwing punches and there's no grappling and hitting at the same time, I don't care where you put it. You can put it in a closet. It's going to be what it's going to be at the end of the day.
Ishe, you think the door's still open for maybe going to MMA? Because earlier in this conversation you said that you were thinking about going into some sort of mixed martial arts combat. You think that opportunity is still there, or you think your focus is more on bare knuckle right now?
Well, right now I want to take care of this, the task at hand. But definitely after this, if there's more opportunities in this, I would love to do it. If not, then I would definitely consider MMA. Or I never say that I'll never not return back to boxing. It's just I wanted to try something different, something new, something refreshing. And after this, if boxing calls, or my good friend Dana White calls, or I've said it. I've given interviews, said I would like to do a 1-on-1, where I fight a top MMA guy in his sport, and then he comes to boxing and fight me in my sport. So that's something I would love to do. But after this, it's all open. I'm open to anything.
Now, being that you grew up in Vegas, you get to see a lot of different things in many different walks of life. How much of a distraction do you think that it is coming to Vegas as a prize fighter when it's your first time there?
I think you got to be mentally strong to have camp in Vegas if you didn't grow up there and you didn't live there. It's tough to just move there, to set your camp up there, and there's a lot of things. It's very tempting. It's a 24-hour city. There's strip clubs everywhere. Fortunately for me, I grew up there, so I'm a local. None of those things intrigue me or entice me. So, but I think you got to have a different set of wits about yourself. You have to be a very strong-willed person to come there and try to set up your camp. If you're not strong-willed and have determination, I would advise no one to set their camp up there whatsoever. But it's great. Yeah, it's very high. I think we're sitting high sea level. We're sitting at like 2,000 and some odd feet above sea level. So, and then you go to Mount Charleston, that's about 8,000, 9,000 above sea level. So it's good training there, but you just have to be dedicated.
All right. We started this conversation with your thoughts on Pacquiao's performance versus Keith Thurman. Do you think Keith Thurman may have been distracted by the draw of Vegas in that fight prior to stepping into that ring?
He might have been. He thought he was just going to knock the guy out. Sometimes, as old dogs, man, we get up for certain things, and Pacquiao looked great. He's looked great his last couple fights. So, he's definitely rejuvenated his career. He's looks great at 41, I think he is, same age as me, and he's an inspiration. So, and that may have played some part to it. And I think he thought he was just going to walk through him. And, it's hard to just walk through, walk through people,
sure,
especially living legends like Pacquiao.
So, Ishe, you said that you wouldn't mind welcoming back an opportunity to go to boxing. Right now, I know you used to fight at welterweight, which is 147. Right now, 147 is the hottest probably division in all of combat sports for boxing. I know you had matches with Tony Harrison, and you've also had a match with J-Rock, with Julian Williams. Like, how do you think this 147 division is playing out right now? There's a lot of hot boxers right now that are looking real tough. So how do you see this landscape?
Oh, I think the landscape in boxing is really good. You got young guys coming up, like Devin Haney and guys like Ryan Garcia and, guys like Tank Davis. Young guys is coming up, and you have, the guys like the Tony Harrison and, and the guy I fought that you just said his name, Julian Williams.
Yeah, J-Rock.
Those guys are good fighters, and, I fought them to Julian Williams was a very highly contested decision. He got the decision, but a lot of people thought it was a draw or possibly won, or they had him winning a very close and tough fight. And Tony Harrison was a split decision loss, which both of those guys went on after fighting me, went on to win world titles. So I think boxing is highly competitive. I just don't think sometimes you don't get the fair shake in boxing as when you're fighting the young guys, you just don't get the fair shake. It's like you're already up against it. Like when you're me and you had a 19 career and you fight Julian Williams, you're not going to get the benefit of close rounds. You're not going to get the benefit of winning rounds. And like one judge scored that fight 9-1, which was ridiculous. So when you get up in age, it's tough fighting young guys like that.
Sure.
Pacquiao has a name that can sustain himself, whereas if he's winning, even if the fights are close, the judges are going to sway with him. When you get a little bit older, and these boxing judges are some of the worst judges I've ever
they can be
in my life. You just don't see those kind of mishaps in UFC and other sporting events. You just in combat sports, you just don't see it. And it seems like on a consistent basis, boxing judges always drop the ball.
All right. Well, you opened up that door, Ishe. So,
and now Mike's going to close it.
Now, I've got a lot of questions for you. All right. What's it like looking at Adelaide Byrd at these events? Speaking of horrible judges.
Well, she's not one of the worst.
Really?
Max DeLuca. Yeah, I think Max DeLuca, who I've known since my Contender days, he is absolutely terrible. And the judge who scored the fight for Canelo when Floyd fought him was absolutely terrible. He retired. I mean, there's just no accountability. With these judges, I think
right.
when you turn in a bad scorecard like that, I think you should have to sit out a minute, or you should have to go before the commission. I mean,
get your eyes checked.
Max DeLuca scored my fight against Julian Williams 9-1. A month later, or a few weeks later, he's judging. Jared Hurd and Ederson de Lara.
How does this happen?
There's no accountability.
How does this happen?
With these judges?
It's politics. It's got to be politics.
There's no accountability. They don't care. The commissions do not care. They care about us. They care about whether we test, whether we pass our eye exam.
Your $25 corner fee.
Whether we're doing our drugs, whether we paying our licenses. They make me take 1,000 tests. Because
MRI.
I'm age, but they don't. Yeah, they don't test their own judges. Like I don't.
Maybe they should drug test the judges now, right?
In all honesty, they should. They should drug test the judges, absolutely. But I'll tell you, in this day and age of social media, it's amazing that there isn't a website dedicated to just horribly judged fights and just putting people on blast with their scorecards and maybe a link to the fight through YouTube.
Yeah, or judge mishaps. Like, how many times have they messed up counting scorecards?
It happens.
Missing points and they don't get calculators. Or
turns out it was a draw.
Yeah, it turns out. Yeah, sorry, buddy. I know you won, but
you kind of didn't.
Yeah, it ended up being a draw. So yeah, we get it, man. I mean, we're fans of the sport too, and it hurts us when we see that crap happen, live on TV, especially with big bouts. You know what I mean? If that's going to happen, let it happen in the amateurs. Not the pros.
All right, Ishe, your opinion. Triple G, Canelo Alvarez, 1 and 2. How did you feel those went? Speaking of judging,
I thought Canelo definitely won the second one. I thought Triple G won the first one.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, I'll take it.
That's just what I thought. Personally.
Adelaide Byrd was a part of that one.
But I don't think he should. If you ask me, I don't think Canelo does himself. I think he does himself a disservice if he fights him 3 times. I don't think there's no use to it, Well,
if the fans want it, that's what they're going to give him.
Going to fight them in. The fan wanted to see it, but I just don't know what he gets out of it.
But every time he walks into a venue, it's tilted his way. Like he's fighting Kovalev coming up. If you think Kovalev isn't the B side in that fight, and he's going to be fighting an uphill battle,
definitely the B side. Anybody that fights Canelo right now is the B side. He's the hottest name in boxing. But that don't mean that the refs should. Here we go again. That doesn't mean the refs should automatically give rounds to Canelo that he's absolutely not winning.
Yeah, I can't agree more.
You have to judge the fight accordingly. And even if the rounds are close, if Kovalev is edging him out, you have to give him the round. You can't give it to the star. Even though we know who's the star, you can't give him them rounds. And this is where boxing drops the ball.
Okay.
They do it at the highest level. They do it with the lowest level. They do it with the mid-level. They do it with older fighters.
Yeah.
They do it with me. Like, I got to just kill a guy to get a decision.
Yeah. Ishe, since we're on boxing, I know the next big fight coming up is the big one, Sean Porter versus Earl Spence Jr. Do you think Well, first off, I want to hear your prediction on this thing. And then also, do you think that Shawn Porter is going to be able to keep up Errol Spence's volume?
Absolutely not. I don't have. I think Shawn Porter has the absolutely wrong style for Errol Spence.
Mm-hmm.
He's more of a brawler, kind of a straight head guy. Likes to, put his will on you. And I just don't see him being able to do that to Earl. It's just the wrong style and perfect for Earl. And Earl's a big welterweight. He's strong. Probably hits more like a junior middleweight or middleweight, and it's just the wrong style. We saw, Adrian Broner drop Shawn Porter. I just don't have that fight going the distance.
No, I agree. I think that
pressure there.
I think Errol Spence probably knocks him out in the second half of that fight.
Too much pressure. Yeah. Now, what about Fury Wilder? What's your predictions on that?
I got Fury winning the rematch. If he can stay out of the way to punches. If he don't get dropped and he just do it exactly what he did the first time, I got him winning easy, going away with it. I think Deontay Wilder's a good fighter. I think he's strong, and that's his attribute to be able to knock, everybody out. But Fury's a good boxer, and if he can keep him at bay like he did, besides those 2 times he got caught, I think he would win. But I grew up watching Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, Mike Tyson. I don't think these guys could have hung in that era.
I agree.
I know Fury is. I know Wilder's strong, but he's just strong.
Yeah.
He's just a big guy who's strong, and I saw that in this era before. I saw Klitschko. When people really forget how good Vladimir really was, coming up. He was big and he was strong, and his brother, the same thing. And Lennox Lewis came up in that era watching him a lot. I just don't know why we've fallen in love with, just power punching.
Yeah.
And just not the technique. I think Wilder's a good fighter. I just don't think he's one of the best heavyweights ever, like some of these people nowadays say.
Right. Well, there you have it. Ishe Smith up against Esteban Bayan for Valor BareKnuckle this Saturday, September 21st. VBK1 in, what is it, South Dakota or is it North Dakota? Where are you at right now, Ishe?
North Dakota.
Fort Bears Casino and Lodge. So
yeah, Fort Bears Casino. Yep.
Yeah. So hopefully Adrian Broner is nowhere around that weekend, distracting you. So if not, then I think you got a really good chance of clearing that win. On that, man, good luck against your bout against Esteban, man. We hope to see and hear from you in the future.
Thanks, Ishe.
Thanks, Ishe. Good luck, man. All right.
You guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, no problem. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.